Sheila, I see a poll shows that newcomers want Canada to admit fewer, that's right, fewer immigrants. You know, Sheila, I'm not surprised. We have an excellent source. It's not his real name, Ted Smith. He's originally from India. He has tipped us off for some incredible stories. He's tipped off the mainstream media too, like the Globe and Mail. Things like, you know, the diploma mill racket in Brampton and, you know, the temporary foreign worker program. And one of the things he said to me, I'll never forget, Sheila, at least because he's tied into what's happening in India. He said, Dave, if you think, you know, the immigrants you're getting from India are doctors, lawyers, engineers, which used to be the case. No, they're not coming. They don't see Canada as a serious country anymore. It's a different kind of cat coming, and he's blowing the whistle. So this isn't me, Mr. White Bread, born in Canada, sounding the alarm. This is somebody from India talking about this. So I'm not surprised by this data.
Underclass. Now, that's sort of what they've done in Dubai, except the difference between Dubai and Canada is that Canadians still need to work and Emiratis don't. And so our low-skilled slave underclass is driving down the wages for everybody else. It's simple supply and demand. But apparently, the immigrants, so not your temporary foreign workers, not your foreign students that are coming here, but people who are going through the process to become Canadian nationals, naturalized Canadians, are getting here and saying, this is not quite what we signed up for, because there's a whole heck of a lot of us around and we can't get housing, access to healthcare, access to education. Class sizes are out of control. Newcomers are saying no thanks. The 4 in 10 newcomers say Canada should let in fewer than 10,000 or 100,000 a year. That's like 1/10 of what we're letting in right now. The federal budget tabled earlier this month sets the target for new permanent residents at 380,000 per year and slashes in half the number of temporary foreign residents that will be allowed into the country. But they just aren't doing that. They're saying these are our targets, but they're not meeting them, and there's no consequences for not meeting them. Like the immigration minister should be fired if they're not meeting the immigration targets. They just get promoted laterally in this government.
But Sheila, those numbers were irresponsible and unsustainable for a country of our population. And the proof is in the pudding, as you alluded to. Look at what's happened in the housing market. Look at healthcare. Times, you know, to see someone forever increasing. The labor market, I mean, last June when you have the National Post do a front page story, the death of the summer job, what does that tell you about our immigration policy?
Right. Well, 2/3 of newcomers, 2/3 of people who chose Canada to become Canadian citizens, these are permanent residents on the pathway to become Canadian citizens. 2/3 of them are saying that you're letting too many people in. I would love to hear the mainstream media and the liberals, although I make a distinction and I probably shouldn't. I would love for them to call these people racist. You know, these are not your like people like me, 5th generation raising the 6th generation Albertans on the same land. These are people who chose Canada and they're not from here, and they're saying you're letting too many people in, and we're losing our Canadian cultural identity that they wanted to be a part of.
And I see the other headline on this file, Sheila, New Brunswick, of all places, receiving record number of asylum claims. What's going on in New Brunswick?
So the federal government reported last week that overall asylum numbers are declining, and we're just supposed to take their word for it. And New Brunswick is like, no, where are they declining? Because it ain't here. So the numbers, and what New Brunswick is saying is that the years before were the highest years, and this is the highest year ever. So they said it's been roughly 255 asylum claims made inside New Brunswick last year, or this year, as of the end of September. So this is like 9 months in. And so last year's record of 295 claims in a single year. And that number was 0 less than a decade ago. I wonder what happened a decade ago to change things. The Liberals maybe got elected, maybe. So 3 months ago in August, the province set a record where 50 claims were recorded in a single month.
And I know
This
it's
is
very
unsustainable for places like this.
no. And another thing, Sheila, how many of those asylum claims do you think is legit as opposed to
It
people
doesn't
jumping the
matter.
queue?
It doesn't matter
Yeah.
because they functionally all become legit. Because you make an asylum claim and they're like, okay, well, I guess now you get to go through the process, even though you came here as a temporary resident or you came here as a student. And then you get here and then all of a sudden you're like, I'm a refugee. But you're not. But the system is so backlogged that it's like, okay, well, we'll see you in 7 years. And what happens in 7 years? You get married to a Canadian, have a Canadian baby, or you just have a Canadian baby. And then that baby sponsors you in because we have birthright citizenship.
And I can tell you, Sheila, the unspoken strategy, whether it's the Liberals in Canada or what we saw in the last 4 years with the Biden-Harris administration, in which they turned a blind eye to people coming in illegally, the lowest estimate, 8 million, the highest, 21 million from what I've seen, is just a wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Just remember, every 4 years, who to vote for. In the US,
Right.
It would be blue. In Canada, it's red. That, I think, is what's really going on to rig the system.
Oh, for sure it is. I mean, it's all in an effort to turn Texas blue.
Oh, in that
really?
case, there goes the Republic.
That's it.
If that
they're
ever
gone.
happens.
Yeah, but just because of the amount of electoral college votes that Texas has.
Yep.
That's if they turn Texas blue. That's it. You just, I mean, they would find themselves in the same situation that Canada finds itself in,
Yeah.
where the election is over before the West is done voting.
And it's a real fear, Sheila, because
Sure it is.
I look at the state of Colorado. That used to be a staunch Republican state.
Yep.
Then it went purple. It would alternate. Now it's blue. So
Right.
don't think a state can't change fundamentally like that. And the left knows
California used to be Republican, okay? In recent memory.
this. Sorry, what was that, Sheila?
California used to be Republican.
100%. But
In
now the
recent
system's
memory.
rigged that you can't have
Yep.
that again. Yeah.
Yeah, never.
Don't forget, California voted Reagan in 80 and 84,
Right.
which
Right.
seems inconceivable today.
Yeah. I mean, New York gave us Rudy Giuliani
Yep.
in recent memory.
And now look
Like-
who New York has. Jeez.
Yeah, Mom Donnie. Okay, one last thing on the immigration front. Immigration minister is lifting work permit requirements for the World Cup.
What?
Why, you ask? I don't know. Immigration Minister Lena Diab, who doesn't know her file, as Michelle Rempel-Garner continues to expose, she suspended the need for work permits for foreign nationals working on next year's Soccer World Cup in an apparent attempt to ensure there are no glitches or delays in hosting the high-profile sporting event. These are not high-skilled jobs. These are like taking tickets, construction. And let me roll that back. Construction is a high skilled job. I don't mean that, but a lot of these jobs are like in food service, crowd control, ticketing. These are jobs, short-term jobs that kids can do. And
Right.
youth unemployment is out of control completely.
Wait a second, Sheila. Why do we need, for the World Cup games being staged in Canada, which includes Toronto, of course, why do we need to import workers for those jobs? I can tell you this year, I think it was a record when the Canadian National Exhibition opened, the lineup for jobs, and this is just for an 18-day fair. It was, it looked like food lines from the Soviet Union back in the day. So you can't tell me there are a lot of people, even for short-term, part-time jobs, that would not want those jobs already here in Canada. Why are we importing people for those jobs?
I'll tell you what IRCC said. The work permit exemption would be brought in for certain foreign workers coming for short-term roles. Okay, but that's how they get in the door. And then they're like, I'm a refugee now.
Yep.
And they said, this helps ensure that the event runs smoothly as these workers will have specialized skills needed to manage the tournament's operations and logistics. This exemption makes the process simpler for select people invited by FIFA. FIFA is one of the most corrupt organizations in the world. I don't want their hand-selected people here. While Canada continues to protect local jobs and uphold fair labor standards.
No. You can't have it both ways. You can't import temporary foreign workers and ensure the locals get jobs too. That doesn't compute for me, Sheila. That's outrageous.
No, and especially when in the bidding process for these things, the Canadian government always says, oh, we're going to invest, which means spend, which is the opposite of investing. We're going to spend your money on something because it's going to create jobs for Canadians. It's going to create all this economic impact, but that's not what's going to happen. They're going to bring in a bunch of temporary foreign workers who are going to take their money and go back to wherever they came from. Hopefully they leave. That's the best case scenario, is they take the money and go back home. That's the best case scenario in this situation right now.